Hey, welcome. So today we're going to deconstruct a topic that is just surrounded by misunderstanding, the idea of respect within hot-wife dynamics. We're going to push all the usual assumptions to the side and really look at the actual architecture of how respect is built and maintained in these, let's face it, pretty unconventional relationships. Okay, let's get right into the central and probably most provocative question of all. Does a hot wife truly respect her partner? This question comes with a ton of cultural baggage. It just assumes that not being sexually exclusive automatically means there's no respect. But as you can probably guess, the answer is way more complicated than a simple yes or no. So, this brings us to what our source material calls the respect paradox. And here's the thing. For these relationships to even work, they often need a level of conscious, deliberate respect that, honestly, a lot of conventional relationships never even have to think about building. Okay, so this slide really breaks down the core difference here. On one side, you've got traditional respect. Think of it as the default setting, right? It kind of runs on autopilot, based on these cultural scripts where monogamy is just assumed to be the ultimate sign of respect. On the other side, negotiated respect. This is a whole different ballgame. It's built from the ground up, totally from scratch. There's no template, so every single rule, every single boundary has to be actively talked about and agreed on by the couple themselves. All right, so if you're building this thing from scratch, what's your most important tool? I mean, where do you even start? Well, as we're about to see, it all boils down to one single foundational element. And look, we're not just talking about a casual chat here. The source material makes it super clear. This level of communication, it's not optional. It's literally a survival mechanism. Without it, the whole thing just falls apart. And that makes perfect sense when you think about it. They're navigating territory with no pre-drawn maps. And this communication gets really, really specific. It's not just a vague, hey, let's be open conversation. No, it's a whole process. Couples have to define the exact boundaries. They have to establish protocols for how they share information. They even have to plan for what happens if something like jealousy pops up. And maybe the most important part, they have to constantly, actively work to keep their relationship, the primary one, right at the center of everything. This is some intensive emotional work. Okay, so let's see how all this communication builds into something bigger than just a list of rules. Our source uses this really powerful metaphor, framing consent not as, a one-time thing, but as this ongoing construction project. Yeah, exactly. So consent isn't some permission slip you sign one time and then forget about. It's a living, breathing structure. It has to be checked on, reinforced, and sometimes it even needs a few renovations. And both partners have to be the architects. And it's in the constant upkeep of this structure that respect becomes something you can actually see and feel. So what holds this whole structure up? Well, here are the pillars. It's about ongoing check-ins, not just banking on a conversation you had 6 months ago. It takes real emotional intelligence, being so in tune with your partner that you can spot the difference between a real enthusiastic yes and one that feels kind of pressured. A huge part of it is integrity, having the character to honor your agreements even when you're apart. And reciprocity, and this is a big one, which means you can't just move the goalposts whenever you feel like it. But of course, right? Even with the best blueprints and the strongest foundation, you're still walking through what can feel like an emotional minefield. And there's one emotion, one big one, that I bet is on everyone's mind right now. Yep, you guessed it. What about jealousy? I mean, isn't that just inevitable? Well, the source material argues that, yeah, it probably is. But here's the twist. Having jealousy pop up isn't the real problem. The real test, the ultimate test of respect, is what the couple does about it when it shows up. So on the one hand, a disrespectful response would be to treat jealousy like it's a weakness, something to shut down or even punished. But a respectful response, it flips the script completely. Suddenly, jealousy isn't a problem. It's valuable data. It's a signal, like a little check engine light, telling you that a need isn't being met or a boundary needs to be talked about. And that totally shifts the dynamic from a fight to a mutual problem-solving session. Now, on the total flip side of jealousy, there's this concept that a lot of people have probably never even heard of. It's called compersion. It's this idea of actually feeling joy because your partner is joyful, even if that joy is coming from their experience with someone else. In a lot of these dynamics, this is actually held up as an emotional goal, a sign the relationship is so secure, it can make room for that. But there is one thing that is an absolute 100% non-negotiable: a guaranteed respect killer. It's the comparison trap. The second one partner gets compared to another, doesn't matter if it's good or bad, that foundation of respect just starts to crumble. It is a line that once you cross it is incredibly hard to come back from. So when you put all this together, the intense communication, this whole architecture of consent, the way emotions are handled, it basically forces you to re-examine the very rules we all think govern relationships. It challenges our most basic ideas. I mean, just take the word commitment, for example. For most of us, in the conventional view, that word is basically a synonym for sexual exclusivity, right? But in this negotiated view we've been talking about, commitment gets defined completely differently. It's about making your primary relationship the priority, having the integrity to honor the unique agreements you've made, and providing unwavering mutual support. Sex is just one piece of the puzzle, not the whole definition. Okay, so let's tie this all together. At the end of the day, what is respect in this context? Well, our source material boils it down to this. It's about recognizing and honoring your partner's full humanity, all their desires, all their fears. It's an active, conscious process, not something that just happens. And it's also about creating this private subculture of two, a little world for your relationship that's strong enough to stand up to all the outside judgment. And all of this leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question to think about. I mean, after seeing the incredible amount of conscious, deliberate work it takes to build respect without a pre-made script, you have to ask yourself, how many traditional relationships, the ones that can just coast on autopilot, are really doing this level of work? Are they truly that respectful? It's a really challenging thought to end on. Thanks for sticking with us for this breakdown.